I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Livestock and Grain Market News, here with your feeder cattle market report summary for the week ending March the 16th, where we have feeder cattle, those going straight to the feedlot, lacking suitable condition for any type or any amount of turning out on grass. Those kind going right into the feedlot, selling unevenly steady to $2 lower. Market's not a wreck by any means. Guys were kind of looking, these feedlot guys were hoping that the losses we've seen the last week or so on the fat cattle market was just kind of a hiccup there caused by the sharply lower board there beginning of last week. But this week, it was later in the week on Thursday, we saw that it probably is not going to be just a hiccup. The market was steady to $1 lower. Early in the week, you saw a lot of guys thinking that we were going to get back up to 127, 128, something like that on fed cattle, but steady to $1 lower this week at 126 in the southern plains, Texas and Kansas. And up in Nebraska, they kind of held steady on a dress basis there up 202. We did see some live sales in Colorado, Nebraska, and Iowa, places like that, up to 127, maybe 127.50. But this fed cattle market's just a little bit weaker. Packers are having trouble moving some of that beef at the prices that they need, and it's just going to be tough for them for a little bit, even though we are short of cattle and exports are still good and all that kind of stuff. But fed cattle market's a little weaker, and it's just going to make it tougher on these feeder cattle. They've got these prices ramped all the way up to where they have to have outstanding performance in the feedlot. Everything has to go right to make them work, and we've probably topped out on our feeder cattle prices on those going right into the feedlot. Still, Kingsville, Missouri, the sale barn there at Kingsville, which is just southeast of Kansas City, there had a load of 1,005 pound steers, bring 145.75. That doesn't sound much weaker. But new crop calves, across the southeast, and any of those fall born calves, pretty soft, fresh little calves coming across the country, those kind are selling steady to $5 lower. These guys that are turning cattle out on grass, they just don't want to mess with the sickness and preconditioning and the trouble that those softer calves are going to bring. Now, on the other hand, old crop calves, maybe some calves that hadn't quite put on the weight, they're getting close to being a year old or maybe are a year old, your thin fleshed yearling type cattle, any cattle that possess a condition, flesh condition mostly, that they can gain a lot of weight, turn them out on grass immediately, and are either long hard weaned or yearling cattle. Those kind of cattle are still in high demand, selling firm to $5 higher this week. Now you get a huge price for some of those kinds of cattle, especially near the major grazing areas, way up there higher than what we've seen on any of those calf prices so far all winter. But right now you look at Nebraska, they're not going to have any of those calves that hadn't really done it all. So right now a soft 500 pound calf in Nebraska won't bring $2 anymore, where they were bringing well over that here just a few weeks ago. But now they want those old crop hard calves. They don't have to be fancy. They don't have to have any kind of a health program behind them. They've got to be thin, those rough-haired cattle. Color's not a big deal. Any of the things, the pedigree, guys aren't worried about that. They want condition. Condition is the thing that means the most in the sale barns and not so much in the direct areas, but guys putting cattle together in the sale barns. That's the main thing they want right now. They want to be able to grab those cattle, turn them right out, and watch them grow. And those grazing type cattle are just, in high demand. Our receipts have held up pretty good so far this year, but guys have just been selling everything that they had and maybe reselling them. But once we get these cattle turned out on grass, you're not going to be seeing a whole lot of reselling of those cattle until mid to late summer and going into the fall. So most of us expect the receipts to fall off real fast, real quick here. Your corn, we're expecting corn farmers to plant around 94 million acres of corn. Already, this has been such an early spring that the corn planters are rolling around up here in the Midwest, and guys are going to get an early start on that. They're not going to mess around and getting a crop in late this year. This year expecting 94 million compared to 91.9 million acres planted last year and 88.2 in 2010. If we have a decent crop this year, it'll more than double our ending stocks, which have been driving these grain prices here the last year or so. Check out our weighted averages and regions. North Central states, 700 to 800 pound steer this week cost you $156.56 compared to $157.58 last week and $131.12 a year ago. Down to South Central states, 600 to 700 pound steer helped with the price on those stockers. $167.32 compared to $166.87 last week, $139.76 a year ago. Down in the Southeast, 500 to 600 pound steer cost you $174.08 compared to $174.57 last week and $144.34 a year ago. That wraps up this week's summary. Check out our website for more market information at marketnews.usda.gov. From the Regional Market News Office in St. Joe, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.